Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're tying the copper version of a fly that requires very little introduction, Ali shrimp. Certainly a fly that does a lot of damage throughout the season in lots of different variations. It's a very good looking fly as far as I'm concerned. Let's get stuck right into it. So kicking off proceedings with a partridge patriot double size 10 in the vise and some red uni 8.0. Just get a couple of wraps down, and then we're going to come in with the small silver wire that will form the tag and the rib on the fly. Just catching this on the top and then running it all the way down, and then 4 turns to form your tag. And as always folks, once you've formed the tag, come up in between the 2 hooks and catch this in nice and tight, run it halfway up the body and then turn it back on itself, just locking everything in and running the thread back down against the tag. Okay, so now we're going to start to form the tail, starting off with some orange bucktail. Not too much, you don't want this to be too heavy, but you want this quite long, so this is going to be 2.5 times the shank length. Just marrying up the ends in my hand, stacking it a little bit and then measuring up. And yeah, definitely getting a good bit of length on this. Catching it on the top, a couple of turns, and that'll get you going. Next thing we're going to do is add in some orange crystal flash into the tail, similar length to the bucktail. If you don't have the orange stuff, the normal pearl will work absolutely fine. Catch it on a couple of turns, 1 strand, then going to fold it back on itself to give you that 2-strand approach. Once you're done with that, you can chop away the excess if it's too long, and then from there what you're going to look to do is just tidy up and catch in all of the bucktail coming forward. Nice touch and turns, giving yourself a nice even body. Once you get to the front, give yourself a nice taper in your cut, so hold the scissors parallel to the hook and cut this away, giving you that nice slope down towards the eye of the hook, and just catch in the rest of the materials. From there you can come all the way back down, touch and turn to the tag and against the bucktail, and catch in a large copper mylar tinsel. You're looking to catch this in for about half the body length, so run the thread up to about halfway up and then get some nice tight turns. You want this nice and flush up against that tag, so take your time, make sure you get it nicely positioned, and then from there nice overlapping turns, and then you can catch it in when you get to about the halfway point. So cutting away the excess, you're going to bring your thread to the front after that and then come in with a black uni floss, just catching this on the side. Make sure it's nicely positioned, quite happy with how it's sitting, and then from there run your thread all the way back up to where it meets the copper tinsel, so that it's nice and flush, no gaps. From there you can chop away your excess at the front. Look to bring your thread forward to where you want the floss to finish. Nice touch and turns all the way down, again keeping everything nice and balanced, and then bring your floss up. Nice turns up against the copper and nicely balanced as you come forward. Maybe some little bits of thread that come off the floss, it happens sometimes, just try and keep this as tidy as possible. And then catch this in at the front, some nice tight turns, make sure you've got this nicely locked in. When you're ready to do so, hold your thread away with the back of your hand and chop away the excess. At this point folks, you can look to rib the fly. I would certainly recommend counter ribbing against the direction you wound your tinsel and your floss. Probably looking at 5 to 6 turns on this fly is what I would recommend, but very much down to personal preference. When you get to the front, look to lock this in with some good turns. Would certainly recommend bend and break away if possible, but if not, use your old scissors. Coming in now, starting to build up the wing, starting off with some grey squirrel, just measuring up the length of this. Want it certainly into the tail, so just catching this on the top. Once you've got that caught nicely in place and you're quite happy with it, something similar on the underside. Probably want this sitting in between the two hooks, so keep it relatively long and just catch it with some nice up pinch and loop. A couple of turns should hold it in place, and then personal preference, I'm going to add some super glue once I'm happy with this, just to make sure it's not going to go anywhere, and then come in with a couple other turns before chopping away the excess. Make sure you're happy with how everything's sitting, just tidy anything up that's not sitting in the right space, give yourself a nice tie-in platform at this point, and then look to come in with the next material, which is the golden pheasant tippet dyed orange. You want that second black bar to be where the white starts on the grey squirrel is what I would recommend, but again, personal preference. I've obviously chopped this to length away from the main feather and just catching it on the top with a couple of turns. Just checking the position of this and then putting my thumbnail across it to spread the fibre across the top of the wing, giving a nice even balance to how the whole thing looks. And then when you're happy with how that's sitting, you can look to tie this in nice and firmly. Add a little bit of super glue or varnish to the thread if you wish to do so. Certainly adds to the longevity of the fly. Okay folks, so for the hackle you've got options. You can go with a hen, you can go with a cock hackle. I'm actually going with one of the softer outer feathers from Rooster Cape, which they look absolutely superb from this Brahma fire orange cape, but they're an absolute pain to try and tie in at times, so patience is required. Certainly do your usual, tie it in by the tip, good couple of turns, and then fold back that tip and cut it away, and do your best to fold this hackle back. It will certainly look better and certainly help with the turning process. Scissors up both sides as always when you're doing this. I've actually licked my fingers here and looked to fold this back. Will admit I had to come back a couple of times to get it to sit how I wanted it to, but it certainly paid off in the long run and certainly gave a good look to the fly. And once you've got all the hackle that you need, and I was quite happy at this point, create a catching point, come in with a couple of turns, holding the stem away from the fly at a 90-degree angle, give you that space, then folding everything back a little bit, again catching with a couple more turns, just securing everything down before chopping away any excess and the excess stem. Once you've chopped away the stem, folks, just make sure you're happy with how everything's sitting. Obviously I've got a couple of strands that are still a little bit awry at this point, so a bit of wax on the thread, no harm at all. Folding everything back, starting to form that head, and everything will be looking pretty good thereafter. Okay, from there folks, once you've formed your head, very much just start finishing up job, a couple of turns in with a whip finish. Once you're happy with that, you can cut away your thread. And then coming in with the first coat of varnish, try not to turn the front of the fly into a swimming pool. You're probably going to want 2 or 3 coats at least to give this a good shine. And there you have it folks, the copper alley shrimp, really good looking fly, really looking forward to using this next season. As always, if you enjoyed the video, drop a comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, be great to hear from you. Until next time, cheers.